What's up, everyone? I'm Cardi-C, the baseball card collector, and on today's episode, I got a stack of slabs to share with you. Why? Because my first PSA submission ever is back. I submitted 10 or so cards to PC Sports Cards back in February. We're here at the end of May, and they're already back. Pretty quick turnaround time for PSA in the grand scheme of things. We got some winners in here, we got some losers in here, but either way, there's a lot of lessons to be learned that I'm very eager to share with you all. But before we get started, I just want to give a big thank you to all my subscribers, new and old alike. My last video, we were flirting right around 500 subscribers, and now we're at 580 something. Just insane. I had never thought my channel would ever have 500 subscribers. Thank you for joining me in my journey to discover more about sports cards through the lens of analytics, the flipping side of things, and everything in between. But without further ado, let's flip the camera around and hop into the PSA submission return. So before we get into the cards that I submitted, I just want to share a couple pieces of mail with you. This bad boy came up on eBay auction at a decent price. This is the 2016 Bowman Chrome Black Refractor, numbered 27 out of 75. The 2020 baseball season is very much up in the air. They've laid off a bunch of minor league players. Who knows what's going to happen with this season? The minor league season is essentially canceled, so there's a lot of uncertainty with your top prospects, and is really going to lead to a deflating price in Bowman prospect cards. So if you're a fan of this stuff and you believe in its value long term, the next month or so, if baseball is indeed canceled, is going to be the perfect time to start picking these cards up. But this was at too good of a price. Your black refractors are usually at a 3.5x multiplier, and I picked this up for, I think it was 2x or 2.5x times the base. So I'm going to look this over a little bit more closely. These first Bowman Chrome cards are always good BGS candidates. I think that the surface might have a scratch or two, but we'll take a closer look at that before we send it out, because if you don't, you might end up like this guy. This was another one of my purchases. PSA 9. This card looks so clean. I can't see where any imperfection is. The back looks solid. There's no whiting, no chipping. All the corners look good. But this is a guy that has a lot of pop, has a lot of potential. And you know how you just get fixed on certain prospects and you want to pick as many of their cards up as you can. Andrew Vaughn, Dylan Carlson, Marco Luciano, those are my guys. So then this is an old card that made its way back to me.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I actually sold both of these on my flipping series to someone that was in Florida back in March. So I went down to my mailbox the other day and I got a return to sender package. It had never been picked up. So I reached out to the guy on eBay. Turns out he and his parents were supposed to go down to their house in Florida, and because of COVID and coronavirus, they never made their way out of Canada. So we looked into what it was going to cost to send these guys to Canada, and I think it was $28 or $29. So I ended up just refunding him at the end of the day. But we got 2016 Bowman prospects of Vladdy, both PSA 9s. This was a Facebook deal once upon a time, but still not sure what I'm going to do with these yet. I might just keep these in the collection for now.
And now, our feature presentation.
First up, 2013 Topps Update Christian Yelich. This was probably the most disappointing grade of the order. Came back in a PSA 8. Now, looking back at my notes, there was chipping in this corner, some whiting down here, and some slight whiting down here. So I had submitted it hoping that it would get a 9. Eye appeal is great. Centering is solid. It's just those corners that really fucked things up. Back looks solid too. I don't know. If there were one of these corners that had the whiting, maybe it's a 10. 2, you're looking at a 9. 8 is when you got issues with all 4. So this is a good card. It doesn't have quite the grading pop or grading value increase that I was hoping for, but that's all right. Still beautiful card. Now the next couple cards I thought were really a coin flip between 9s and 10s. Unfortunately, I lost each of those coin flips. 2019 Topps Fernando Tatis Jr. from Series 2, PSA 9. Take a look at it closer and you can see that top left corner is a little bit suspect. The top right corner is solid, and then the bottom 2 corners are good to go. I had probably 25 to 30 different copies of this card in my possession over the course of the last year, and this was the cleanest looking version. I had taken a look at what was graded in a PSA 10, and I didn't think that a corner that looks like that was enough to ding it down, but apparently it was. And the next card follows a very similar trend. 2019 Topps Vladdy missing card number in a PSA 9. Again, that top left corner is a little bit suspect. Your top right corner looks pretty good. Centering is solid. I don't know. It could have gotten a 10. You see a tiny little bit of whiting there. But like I said, it was a coin flip. I was expecting it to get either a 9 or a 10, and it just came out as a 9. So then the one other card that was a coin flip, in my opinion, was this guy. 2019 Topps Update, Luis Arias Gold. Came back in a 9. Once again, you see those corners. The top 2 are a little bit soft. I had made the mistake of going online and searching eBay and taking a look at cards that had gotten 10s, and they all had a little bit of whiting. The corners weren't super sharp, so I thought, hey, like, I can still make my money back on the card plus grading fees if it gets a 9, and just hopefully it'll get a 10. So maybe I got a little bit of a tougher grader, but that's fine. I can live with 9s here. This one's a little bit disappointing. It looked really clean when I sent it. I don't know if you can see it on the video here, but there's a pretty, let's see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the video, but there's a pretty big surface impression here. It almost looks like someone put a fingernail in it. I wouldn't have sent that in if I saw that along the way, but that's one of the items that you just got to be mindful of when you're submitting cards. Even if you got it packed up super safe, you got a lot of hands touching these cards. There is some chance that it gets damaged along the way, but this Bowman Chrome Refractor, even in a 9, is still a solid card. Yeah, you can sort of see it right there. But under certain light, it's really tough to miss. So I can't imagine that I would have missed that from the get-go. But it's always possible. So now, those are the underwhelming losers of the submission. Now let's take a look at the big boys. 2019 Bowman Chrome, Wander Franco. This got a PSA 10. I actually picked this up from a dealer at the Cranston, Rhode Island show when I was there with Bay State Breaks, Mr. Dub, and Filmington. He had a bunch of Bowman Chrome cards out that looked really clean, and this was one of them. At one point during the last month or so, this card was taking off. It was like a $70, $80 card. I'll hold on to it because I'm really building up a PC of these first Bowman cards. And the next card is going to be a solid addition to the collection, and you'll see why. This is a card. This next card I picked up in a lot with this Wander, and it was just super clean. 2016 Bowman Prospects Chrome, Fernando Tatis Jr. in a PSA 10. This is a card where if I wanted to sell it right now, I could easily make the entire cost of the submission back and then some. But like I said, I think I want to add it to the collection and book a one-way ticket to make sure it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And then the last card of the submission is a 2019 Bowman Prospects Chrome and a PSA 10 of Julio Rodriguez. He's a top 10 prospect, not quite as hyped as Wander, but he's in that Dylan Carlson conversation. He stands a very good chance with the expanded rosters, if MLB were to have a season this year, of making the major league team, at which time this card is going to pop off. So we'll see if I want to add it to the collection or sell it. So there you have it. Big shout out and thank you to the guys over at PC Sports Cards. Josh was very transparent, gave me updates every step of the way. Would highly recommend submitting through them. Link is in the comment below to their website. 8 cards, 1 8, 4 9s, 3 10s. Overall, it's not a bad submission. I broke even if I were to sell these guys on eBay with the cost of the card plus the cost of the grading. And I really learned 2 big lessons. One, if there's a copy that's been graded in a PSA 10 that's got a little bit of whiting on the corners, or if it's slightly off, it doesn't guarantee that you're necessarily going to receive that same grade. So take a look at your cards very closely before you submit them, and just acknowledge that you are taking a gamble. Even if you think the card is perfect, the grader at PSA or BGS or SGC might think differently. That's lesson number 1. And then lesson number 2 is a lot can change when these cards are at PSA getting graded. I got pretty lucky, I think. It was a February submission, and it came back before the beginning of June. That's a pretty quick turnaround, and not too much has changed in the market with these guys, but we've touched on it a little bit. The 2020 MLB season is still very much up in the air. They don't have a solid plan to open it back up yet. And if I had some of these Bowman Chrome cards, I don't know, last month, this Julio Rodriguez or the Wander Franco, I might have sold them. But it's a calculated risk, a calculated gamble that you're taking when you're submitting cards, that the market's not going to get too volatile and change too drastically from when you originally planned on submitting it to when you're actually going to get the card back. So very much like lesson number 1, you just have to be aware of it, acknowledge it, and recognize that you're taking a risk and you're taking a gamble anytime you're submitting these types of cards. But that's all I got for you today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure to hit that like button. And I guess, yeah, that's it. Till next time, I'm Cardi-C, the baseball card collector. We'll catch you guys later.